The really smart expert use of the dollar a day strategy, which we've spent $1 billion on the last 15 years, is using it to uplift that high authority content. I have never done an outbound call. I have never done cold outreach ever. I have never applied to speak at a conference ever. It's all invite. Every client we've ever had, whether it's a Nike or a Red Bull or a Starbucks or whatever, they've come to us because of these techniques. So if I can do this and get the Golden State Warriors as a client and run their ads for 5.5 years because they reached out, you could do it for whatever clients in your niche.
Yeah, 1000%. And I just want to say for people who like think like this, because a big part of it, at least to me, is you're thinking about relationships, what I call like playing chess when everyone else is playing checkers.
Yeah.
You know, checkers to me is a really simple game. You move left or right. You can teach it to a 10-year-old in an hour, under an hour, as where, you know, chess masters train a long time. And the really great chess masters are thinking 5-10 moves in advance. And that's the real key. Like you mentioned, like you're identifying who the real figureheads are, who the movers and shakers, and bringing real value to those relationships, but also capturing those at the same time, and then having a team to distribute those things, and also helping those same people to distribute their own stuff better, more efficiently. Because, you know, when it comes to creating content, which everybody knows works, but the challenge with that, as you mentioned, is like the factory of outputting, which you've done such a brilliant job of systematizing and organizing. But at the front of it, to me, is like just Dennis Yu, old school, connecting with real meaningful people, delivering real value, and then using the tools of the internet and automation and algorithms and SEO and paid ads and all those kind of things to make sure eyeballs that are relevant see that. And then it's the whole thing is a pull machine instead of a push machine, which I think is just a smarter way of doing it. It takes more legwork to get it started, but the surgeon doesn't chase you. The surgeon doesn't ever knock on your door and say, "Hey, anybody in your house considering surgery today?" You know, it's just like, you know,
run.
And then when you think about that, like agency owners, I see this where they're all upset that like their clients don't see them as experts and things like that. And it started with how you approach them in the first place, as where there's a huge difference. Like I can tell you, just if somebody sees Daryl Isaacs, which, you know, outside of personal injury, probably not many of you guys will know him, but in our space, I'd say like probably 80% of lawyers know who he is, right? Like at least in my space, they may not, you know, be huge fans of him or whatever, but they know his name. When they see Dennis and him together, there's a pull mechanism that says, well, if Daryl's using him, he probably could hire anybody and has the budget to hire whoever the best of the best is, you know. And I see they're doing really well. You know, Dennis Yu, what must be one of his secrets, and it's like there's a pull mechanism in place, and like you said, you know, which leads to not having to chase people with inbound, not having to do calls, and then there's, like I said, everything that carries forward in that relationship, because how you found them is a very different thing. I used to experience this because I had my first SEO agency was built as a push agency, so I had about 100 clients. And I was mostly doing white label stuff. And what happened is I got a guy who he would go to the conference, he would meet a plastic surgeon. And then the next time he was in their city, he would kind of just forcefully kick the door open. He would just show up at their office and be like, "I'm here to sell you a website, and I'm not leaving until you buy a website." And a certain percentage of people, he would sell them websites. But there was like a tangible distrust that would follow. Like clients would cancel. They would have all these questions about SEO, and in disguise, their trust, like, "We don't trust you guys," kind of, "You're not really an expert," kind of questions. As where, you know, when you do this kind of pull mechanism, you never really get those things, because, you know, people know, like they already know you've been working with Daryl Isaacs. Show me some of what you're doing. And there's a humility client shows up with, and then you know, like I said, that flows through to, like, you know, you mentioned keeping the Golden State Warriors for 5.5 years. There's a whole magic lesson in and of itself of not just getting the Golden State Warriors, but setting it up so they're staying with you for, you know, half a decade or longer, right? Like most people churn and burn through clients in like 3-4 months.
Yeah.
And when you have, like, you know, big name players, and it makes your business life a lot easier when you can forecast, when, you know, like, you know, just monetarily, like you got payroll and things like that. Well, we know we have the Golden State Warriors check coming on the 3rd. that'll help, like just having a business that runs that way. And it's such a smarter way to me of like delivering expert authority kind of celebrity kind of positioning where people seek you out rather than you having to go, find people, but you've strategically put yourself in front of them. So, I always joke, like there's ways where like on Facebook where I'll add people, put them into a list and then make a post that makes them think they found me. In reality, I've gone out to seek them. And it's the same kind of idea where you're using those relationships to warm up relationships way faster than you could ever do on your own.
You can use dollar a day to drive leads directly, but the really smart expert use of the dollar a day strategy, which we've spent $1 billion on in the last 15 years, is using it to uplift that high authority content.
Yeah.
So me and Ken Hardison and Ali Awad and Bill Hauser and Daryl Isaacs and all the other people, I'm spending my money to do PR for them, is really what I'm doing.
We got a
That's the
special
key.
visitor now. Two of them.
Who's our special visitor?
This one is Heidi B. And this one is Zelda B.
Golden bees.
Can I do something to
Yeah.
you?
They're so cute.
So this one's about to turn 4 over here, and this one's about to turn 3. Here, we'll share. You can share Daddy's lap. I think that probably means I've stolen enough of your awesome, amazing content.
What's awesome, Frankie? I'm going to send you this recording.